up, cyberpunks and retro nerds? Welcome back to another edition of Neon Trash. I'm your host, Tommy the Hammer. Tonight I have got Olivia, I got Bee Cee, and of course I've got Johnny Rocket there all the way at the end. It is another Halloween October pick. Tonight is Bee Cee's pick. Bee Cee, what you got in stock tonight?
Today I have brought a film by the acclaimed and wonderful director Guillermo Del Toro. And you might be thinking before I put it up to the screen that this could be The Shape of Water, or Pan's Labyrinth, or his first feature, Kronos. That is The Devil's Backbone. It is an early 2000s horror movie set during the final week of the Spanish Civil War. There's political and social commentary, but there always is with Guillermo Del Toro films. And this is a ghost horror movie, but as we learn in most of his movies, humans are usually the biggest monsters of all.
He's a good director, great sense of style. I love his movies. So I am stoked to revisit this classic. I can't wait. You guys know this part, don't you? Peep the trailer, check that shit out. We'll be right back. Motherfuckers. What a trip this was. What a gothic, moody, atmospheric, symbolic movie overall. This film is definitely heavy on the visual sense. The narrative itself, I think it's probably Del Toro's best work in terms of a story. With that being said, I feel like it's not his most entertaining work. And that's the strange thing. I feel like with his movies, I'm usually swept away. With this film, I haven't seen in a while, and revisiting it again, visually speaking, I feel like it exhibited everything that I like about him as a director, but at the same time, it lacked certain things that I found entertaining about his later work. So it's kind of funny. I liked Pan's Labyrinth. I liked Blade. I liked all these late offerings by him as a director. Even Hellboy, which is strange.
But the ones that, have a good story to tell are the ones that ultimately are the ones that I revisit the most, and the ones that matter to me, and the ones that, get me emotional. There were plenty of scenes in this movie where I felt like most of us in the room probably felt like tearing up. This is not an easy movie to watch, and I actually feel like by the ending, my opinion, at least on the plot, is that I think it is kind of straightforward. I feel like you're led to believe that one of the kids is the bully, and you're led to believe that the ghost is bad. But as you watch the movie more and more and it progresses, you see that someone else within this orphanage is the bad one. But even him, the villain, there's a lot more nuance to him. I don't think he's just this terrible person, despite all of the terrible things he does. I mean, ultimately what led him to be the way he was war. I feel like it makes a big statement. I feel like Guillermo Del Toro always tries to do that. And personally, this is my favorite film from him. I've seen, his forays into Pacific Rim and Hellboy, and I've also seen Pan's Labyrinth and The Shape of Water. And I think almost everything he does, there's always at least integrity behind it. I always feel like it was worth watching. I think most of his movies are good. I think Pan's Labyrinth is a masterpiece. But with that being said, I feel like, if I had to choose a movie where I feel like it really highlighted his sensibilities and everything that he's about, I feel like this is probably the movie. And the fact that it's dedicated to his parents, I feel like he must feel that way too.
I thought this was a really powerful movie, and looking back on it after watching it and not sitting through it and picking it apart, looking back on it, I'm not oh, I wish this would have been different or that. I feel like it was done really well, and I feel like I would even recommend this to people who are potentially interested in watching foreign movies. I feel like it's a good one of a good starter. It's not the first one to start with, but maybe of a few, something to look into if you want to get a feel of other cultures and countries, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think it's something interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And I think the cinematography was beautiful. I thought it was really good, and the storyline, it was creepy, but it's not they're trying to do jump scares every 5 minutes type of thing. It's there's actually a storyline, and yeah, I feel like the ghost part of it wasn't the main part of it, but it definitely contributed, and I feel like it would have been a lot different if that wasn't a part of the storyline.
Put from the beginning the fact that this kid's dropped off in this orphanage, he's kind of abandoned, so you're kind of already feeling bad, and then the whole movie just takes place in the setting you're feeling confined along with everybody else. But then, oh my God, there's this ghost going on, this is creepy. But then there's this whole extra, just really sinister underlying, what's going on with the war and the gold and these weird other characters. There's so many other little off-putting things. And I mean, what this movie really is that struck me. What this movie really is to me was, I mean, this is it's a murder mystery, right? But it's a murder mystery that's kind of wrapped up in a horror movie and a ghost movie, and in a war movie, So you kind of got a number of different things kind of going on here. This isn't just one specific type of movie, that this could be seen as a number of different genres, honestly. We're going to maybe a tiny bit long, but with this kind of a story and all these characters and just everything going on, I really don't mind it in the end.
Good old Spooktober.
I'm going to jump straight into the star counts.
Do it!
And I'm going to give this bad boy right here 9 out of 10 stars. This is a great flick. So I'm going to pass the buck back this way to Olivia. What do you think? Star count, if you had to rate it out of 10 stars, what do you say?
Well, between everything else I already said and just the scenes and the moments where you're just speechless or just simply saying wow, I would say I'd rate this a 9.
Ooh, shit. 9-9, Bee Cee, where you at?
So for me, I had first watched this probably as a young teenager with my dad, and I feel like, this is one of those horror movies where I realized, the true power that lies within the genre. If the director that is using the genre uses it correctly, they can make incredibly emotional and powerful movies. And, Scooby-Doo kind of taught us that the biggest monsters were always humans, but that still translates, to films, with adult subject matter. I mean, this is as dark and as sad and traumatic as it gets. but none of the atrocities or terrible things that take place in this film have anything to do with anything paranormal. It's all human. And
Man,
yeah,
I mean, the bastard.
Yeah, I honestly, I do have like an emotional attachment to the film, but I think it's beautiful. I think the story's great. I think anyone that is, making that foray into foreign cinema, I feel like this is a movie that they kind of have to see. So for me, I'm going big. I'm going 10 out of 10.
Oh, God!
Wow!
Damn, son of a bitch! I feel like the narrative, I feel like the characterization is a little more underground and relatable with this smaller production. So, out of 10 stars, Tommy the Hammer gives The Devil's Backbone a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10. Great movie, perfect for the month of October. I don't know if you guys agree with me on this.
Tommy the Ballbuster Hammer here.
I'm just saying, great director, great movie.
I mean, it was a stepping stone to greater works. I
It
can
is.
understand that.
That's all I'm saying. Not a bad movie. Depends on the audience watching it. For me, I feel like Pan's Labyrinth, which is what Bee Cee was saying was the sister film, or at least this movie is the sister film to that. I feel like Pan's Labyrinth fully realizes this guy's vision in terms of fantasy horror. I feel like Pan's Labyrinth, although it has a lot more CGI, I feel like that movie realizes that vision a little bit more.
There was a lot of fantasy involved in that one,
Yes.
for sure. But I think at that point, effects had progressed to the point where you were allowed to suspend your. It was easier to suspend your disbelief at that point. So
But
I
if we're
think-
just talking
yeah.
about effects, though, I'm talking about. I actually like the narrative of Pan's Labyrinth more than this. How are you?
It was well. I mean,
Well, and I should state that I also think that Pan's Labyrinth is a 10 as well. So
Oh!
I think so what it really
Oh, you got
bonus
two
star
tens.
count.
so what it,
Bonus.
so what it comes down to is which movie do I like more, even though I think they're both masterpieces. Because I think that Pan's Labyrinth, I think it has a great narrative. I mean, it's very similar to the narrative in this.
Very similar.
But I think Pan's Labyrinth is more visually arresting than this film by far.
Agreed.
But I feel like this film, like,
Narrative.
I was ready to. If I wasn't in a room with y'all, I probably would have just cried. So for me, it
this
just comes
feels
down
like
to.
more horror, whereas Pan's Labyrinth feels more fantasy.
I would agree.
Honestly,
with
just
Maybe.
the whole, I don't know, the humanity of it, and just the fact that the ghost, the paranormal, the horror of it really kind of takes a back seat to the awfulness of man and what we're capable of, and the sheer depravity that the depths people can sink to just really is so much more prominent in this film.
So, with all that being said, guys, of course, I hope we've been informative. Until the next time, tune in.
To Neon Trash!
Adios, muchachos.